Did you do it? How was it? Did she make you come? Nothing like a Nazi-style interrogation as soon as you walk through the door. No kiss hello, no, hey hun, how was your day? How was work? What would you like for tea? Just straight out with it. But that's Chris for you. I knew he wouldn't be cool with it. It had been a long time since I'd slept with someone new. So when, I'm sorry, what's your name? Julie, thank you. So when Julie invited me up to her bedroom, as nervous as I was excited as I was nervous more than anything. I mean, I don't even think I'd seen a naked woman since I was about 18 or something. In the flesh, anyway. I've seen it in films, of course, but it's all a little bit different close up, isn't it? It's like that naked dating show on TV. You've seen a naked body before, you know what to expect, you know how it all works, and then suddenly, the clothes are off. Wow. I think the fact that Julie and I have known each other for some years is actually something that made it a little worse. Not the sex part, just the initial, so, that's your vagina. Nice. I mean, how do you respond to seeing someone's vagina? Or penis, for that matter. In either case, it's not exactly the most attractive part of a person's body. Unless you're really lucky. Or unlucky, I suppose. In either case, the sex part was fine. More than fine. I guess that was the trouble, really. I told Chris it was fine. Fine! He snaps at me. Fine's no good. The doctor said that if you both enjoyed and both climaxed at the same time, it improves her chance of fertility. Fine is not good. He said, well, if it hasn't worked this time, you'll just have to do it again, won't you? Now, is it just me? Or is there something about pre-prescribed sex that's just so unsexy? It's like enforced fun. I mean, so what if it hasn't worked? Then when I try again, or if I try again, and that's what I'm going to be thinking about now. I'm never going to enjoy them. Not that I don't enjoy thinking about Chris when I'm, well, you know. You know when you're asleep and you're having a sex dream? Are you having sex with the person you're with? Your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever? I don't. I never have. To me, dreams are a bit like porn, really. They're make-believe, fantasies. No matter how much you want to believe that the amateur couple in the video are actually a couple in real life, and this is the actual sex they actually have, it doesn't make it true. It's the same for dreams, I think. Sex dreams, anyway. At least it is for me. I mean, so what if your subconscious wants to see the trolley push from M&S fuck you hard in the middle of your local gym? Or if it wants to see you come over the chest of a young Richard Gere as he starts to turn into your old geography teacher. Or if it wants to see your husband's best friend come until she can't take it any longer while he sits in the corner crying, but cheering you on with tears streaming down his face. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, does it? It's just a dream. Chris and I first met at university. I was doing journalism, he was studying a performing arts degree. We met at one of the freshers events in the first week. Apparently, he clocked me straight away, but was too shy to say anything. He likes to tell it that way, because it makes it sound like love at first sight. When really, the only reason we even spoke that night was because he was wearing the tightest jeans. And his arse looked fucking phenomenal. I wasn't letting that get away from me. And I didn't. You can sort of see why I like to tell it his way, can't you? It's a touch more romantic, I guess. I mean, it was my first week away from home. First week at the start of my new life to finally be who I wanted to be. I just wanted to fucking have fun. He just happened to be one of the people I fucking had fun with. By the time the Christmas holidays had come around, we decided to be exclusive, whatever that means. His suggestion. He says that during those first few months, when we were just fooling around and having fun, he hadn't slept with anyone else, which I know is a lie because David, one of the guys on my course, said that Chris gave him head in one of the library toilets. I don't mind that he did. I fooled around with loads of people those first few months. Guys, girls, sometimes both. It's what university's for. But again, it ruins the romance for him. That and the fact I was getting a bit more action than he was, and I think it was making him a touch jealous. My experimental phase, he used to call it. He proposed to me in our final year. Caught me a little off guard, if I'm honest. Halfway through a dissertation, desperately trying to concentrate, and suddenly someone asks you to dedicate the rest of your life to them. Now I love Chris, or loved. Love. But I wasn't ready to settle down. But then, what would happen if I said no? Why is it, as soon as someone asks you to marry them, if you say no, then it's straight away seen as a breakup? I didn't want to break up. If I'd have wanted to break up, I would have asked for a breakup. I wasn't ready. I still sometimes wonder, what if I hadn't said yes?
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Remy.
Remy, thank you. I first met Remy online. I was fairly new to the whole online dating thing before I met him. I mean, I had a Tinder account, Grindr account and everything. But I'd never met up with anyone before. But, I don't know, I just saw his picture and thought he looked cute. So I sent him a message and, well, that was it really. Okay, I know it wasn't exactly like other online dating sites, but hey, who cares? I don't feel ashamed about anything. Why should I? If I'm sat at home, right, and I know I'm not the only one who does this. If you're at home and you fancy something to eat, but you've got nothing in, or you can't be asked to start cooking, you go online, don't you? We've all done it. Cheeky Nando's midweek, courtesy of Deliveroo, thank you. Or a naughty Chinese on a Saturday night, thanks to the easy-to-use Just Eat. Hungry house for you city folk. We've all done it. It's just the way things are now. If you want something that you can't be asked to sort yourself, you go online and you pay someone to sort it for you. I've never been good at dating. There's always so much pressure, am I right? Particularly when you don't even know the person. Do I look alright? Do I smell alright? Do they fancy me? Do I have something stuck in my teeth? Do they want to sleep with me? Are they going to be any good? Are they into anything weird? If I go to theirs, do I stay the night or will they kick me out? If they come back to mine, will they just fuck me and run? In an age where everyone is suffering with some form of stress or anxiety or depression, why the fuck should I have to worry about all that shit? I hadn't been with many guys before, Remy. Only a few. Well, what? He was a friend of a friend. My mate didn't know that I was into guys, but his friend said that he could tell a mile off. Thanks. Anyway, I took his Addy for MSN, as we did in the old days, and I added him when I got home. I don't really remember how we got onto it, but we were talking about this guy that he got with. Still pretending I wasn't interested, I asked him what it was like. Next thing I know, I invited him round with some line like, well, I never wanted to do stuff with a guy, but if you tried anything, I probably wouldn't stop you. You know, just pretending as if I'm only going to do it to be polite to him. We've all done stuff just to be polite before, right? It's not just me. Anyway, he comes over, and we're in my room. I don't really remember who made the first move or how it happened, but we were kissing. And then his shirt was off. And then my shirt was off. Things seemed to move pretty quickly between jeans being on to jeans being off. He was laid on top of me, and I could feel him inside of his boxers pressing against me. Two things. Number one, his boxers were hideous. I mean seriously. Light blue, baggy, old and worn out, George at Asda kind of boxers, yeah? If someone invites you round, basically guaranteeing you that something's going to happen, you'd wear nice underwear, right? Not that I'm saying that I guaranteed him anything, just, well, I'd have worn nice underwear. Number two, and I'm sure that all guys feel this way when presented in any way, shape or form with another guy's cock, the only thought that's running through your head is, fuck. I never felt so small in all my life. You suddenly begin to appreciate the naivety you feel as a guy before your first time. Your cock is the only cock in the world. There is nothing wrong with it. It is perfect. That is, until you see one in the flesh that's bigger. I mean, sure, you see them in porn, but they're professionals. They're paid to have huge dicks. He got me so turned on with all the kissing and touching and stuff. I was like a rock. As I felt it pressing against me through his cheap, nasty Asda boxers, I was so conflicted. On the one hand, oh, fuck me, this is actually happening, this is so fucking hot. And on the other hand, fuck me, I'm so fucking small. I've never been so flaccid and so hard at the same time in all my life. My body soon made its own mind up though.
It's funny the things you remember from your childhood. Do you have things that stand out to you for no particular reason? An old t-shirt, the colour of the walls in your old bedroom, the sound of the tumble dryer. We used to have this grey sofa, grey leather sofa like elephant skin with green felt cushions. The sofa was covered in grubby marks from sticky fingers, spilt drinks, bits of food. I mean, it's not like my parents didn't clean it, it was just so old and worn that any dirt just seeped into the flesh of this thick-skinned beast. It had this sort of ruckled up thing going on over its arms too, so you could see the dust, bits of crisps, bits of dead skin trapped within the creases. It had buttons on the back of it, like it was trying to be one of those Chesterfield sofas, but was failing miserably. The buttons just created more pockets for bugs to crawl into and die, like a fly elephant graveyard. It wasn't even comfortable. Apparently I cried when they told me. Cried a lot. At least that's what they said I did. I don't remember. I do remember it was dark, nighttime. Dad was sat down and Mum stood up. And I'm pretty sure I was sat on that grey leather sofa with its green cushions. But I don't remember crying. A few months after this announcement, where I cried a lot but didn't, Dad moved out. I knew it was coming, as I knew it was happening on this particular day, but it was still weird. Went to school as normal, and when I came home, everything had gone. Everything of his. Even that grey sofa. When you're a kid, your parents never really tell you anything. Nothing important or truthful anyway. They tell you lies. White lies, but still lies. They try and teach you that the world's a good place and that you can achieve anything and that everyone is nice. Sometimes they decide they can be happier if they're not around each other anymore. That's what Mum and Dad told me at the time anyway, as far as I remember. But that's not always true. Dad wasn't happier afterwards. Not many parents seem to stay together these days. How many people here have parents who are still together? I think it seems the norm now, really. It's more surprising to hear if people are still together. Mum is happier. We actually started doing things together, not just trips to Tesco or something like that, but actually doing things. We'd talk. She'd ask about school and about my friends, and it was nice. When I stayed with Dad, though, he always just seemed so exhausted. I'd try and suggest something like going for a walk through the woods or through the fields, but he never wanted to. He used to always be wandering around out there. He was big on wildflowers, bit of an amateur botanist. Knew all the names, even the Latin ones. Myosotis. Any ideas? Myosotis? Well, that's forget-me-nots to you and me. Mum said she'd been seeing somebody new. Carl. I remember hearing Mum laugh a lot. Suddenly, Mum had become this proper little hostess, always having her girlfriends round, or Carl lighting up a barbecue. When I went round to Dad's, though, it was always so quiet. I can't remember much from school, but I do remember one geography class when we were looking at Africa and its native animals that, although elephants don't necessarily mate for life, they are really loyal when it comes to their families. The male elephants tend to live alone, while the female elephants stay sociable with other females and their offspring. I guess this was our family now.
Julie was a member of Chris's drama society. I fucking hated going to those society parties, all screaming and singing Disney shit. Apparently, Julie and Chris got talking because she thought he was fit and tried it on with him. Kind of funny now looking back at how things have turned out. It had been about a week since that night with Julie that we decided to try again. So I booked a hotel room. We didn't see the point in waiting a whole month to see whether it worked or not, so when she arrived, she was wearing this real body-hugging green dress. She looked amazing. When we got up to the hotel room and she took it off, she had on this lingerie that just fitted and held her body perfectly. It was like a fucking rock from the moment that dress came off. I think that's when I really knew. Julie had always wanted to have kids, but never found anyone as perfect, in her eyes, as her father was. So she always ended things before they got too serious. She actually came to Chris first, asked if he'd be interested in being her baby daddy. I have never seen him go so red, so fast. His face was like a baboon's arsehole. Though this did sort of prompt new conversations for Chris and me. We'd never really discussed kids. We were more dog people. So I think that's why I was surprised when we started researching into it. We spoke to Julie about adoption. She felt she would feel a connection with it if it wasn't biologically hers. She asked us about IVF, until we showed her the price. I said to Chris, "You're just going to have to get your tit wet and get the job done yourself. knowing full well he wouldn't even be able to get it up, even if they did it in the dark with Hugh Jackman singing The Greatest Showman at it. One morning, after a long night of Chris Googling, he turned to me and he asked if I ever watched straight porn. Now, when your partner asks you something like this, is it, or is it not, 9 times out of 10, a complete and utter fucking tramp? I mean, so what if I did? He was never going to watch it with me, and he knew I watched stuff without him. Why? I asked. Can you still get turned on looking at women? It seems the internet told him that sex between a man and a woman is generally considered to be the easiest and most reliable way to make a baby. Who'd have thought? He spent all night researching into it, trying to find a way that we could help Julie. But it basically came down to either artificial insemination or actual insemination. And so basically he was asking, why couldn't I do it instead of him? They say certain positions can help when trying to conceive. Missionary is meant to be good, very traditional. Doggy style too, apparently allows for a deeper penetration, basically meaning the sperm has less distance to travel. I mean, we've booked the hotel for the whole night, so might as well try it in as many different ways as possible. Improve our chances. In the morning, before we'd even left the hotel, Chris had left 3 messages on my phone, all basically asking how it went. And what do I say? What are you meant to say when the person you love asks you how sex was with their best friend? You know when you're a little way into a relationship and you get to the point where you're discussing your previous partners, do you ever truthfully tell them about the good ones? You tell them about the bad ones. That's safe. That's obvious. You don't tell the truth about the good ones. About the best fucks of your life. About the times where you could barely keep your hands off each other. The nights where you did it 3, 4, 5 times. Of course you fucking don't. It just creates tension. So when Chris asked how it went, I said it was fine. We both came, fingers crossed. There wasn't anything emotional in it. I wasn't falling in love with Julie. I wasn't falling out of love with Chris, I don't think. But being with Julie, I missed it. Being with a woman. Ever since Chris and I got married, he wouldn't even talk about the fact that I'd been with women before him. The unspoken experimental phase, the before time. If he was gay and I was married to him, then I must be gay. That's what he always said, so that's what I came to believe. Being with Julie, I didn't even find Chris any less attractive. I really didn't. It was just, I needed more. Whatever it was we did that night, it worked. Julie phoned me and said that she'd taken a test and that it was positive. I asked if she'd told Chris yet, and she said she hadn't. I asked if we had to, straight away. I messaged Chris later that afternoon and said she'd taken the test. And that I was booking another night at the hotel to try again. He replied saying, "Think of me."
Now, just to clarify, I'm not a confident person. I'm a bit awkward in social situations. I don't like to make a fuss. And I certainly do not invite strange men I've only just met around to my house, get them naked, and take their whole penis in my mouth in one go without even checking to see whether I could. But fuck me. This is the time where I've got to say hats off to all the men and women in the adult film industry who have perfected the deep throat. And also the time where I have to warn any young guy or girl thinking about doing it for the first time, for God's sake, ease into it. Luckily, I don't have a gag reflex. But the first time you have a 9.5-inch schlong down your throat is not the time you want to find out that you did. Where was I? Ah, yes. So, long story short, I made him come. I was so nervous in the end that I couldn't. And then he left. And he outed me to all of our mutual friends by telling them about me taking his balls in my mouth as I jerked him off to climax. That's the only guy I've been with before, Remy. Not exactly the most positive of experiences. I was almost exclusively with girls after that encounter. Usually long-term relationships too. Months or a year here and there. It never really worked out though. I always feel too self-conscious. Even when I've been with someone for ages, I just feel as if they're judging me. But recently, after my last breakup, I just fancied something easy. No commitment. No getting self-conscious. And when you can find a way of having a date with somebody that you find attractive, who you know will say that they find you attractive, who you know will definitely come back to the hotel room with you if you want them to, make you come, and then stay only as long as you want them to, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, seriously, if I gave you the option of a casual date with a stranger where anything could go wrong, or the perfect date, where you've set out all the expectations beforehand, but you have to pay a little something for the assurance that everything goes to plan, wouldn't you take the easy option? Don't get me wrong, I love spontaneity as much as the next guy. That's a lie, I fucking hate spontaneity. But that's not the point. The point is, sometimes you just want assurances. There's enough pressure in life without having to worry about whether your date's going to be a one-nighter or a third dater, a joker, or just a dick, a top, or a bottom. He suggested the bar where we met and the restaurant where we ate. Everything else, I set out. I told him that I just needed to feel wanted. That I thought I might want to have sex, but wasn't sure. That I hadn't had much experience, but I did know that I liked giving head. He said we could do anything. As much, or as little as I wanted. The first night we met, after the meal, we go back to the hotel room, and he kissed me. He kissed me hard on the lips, his hands around the back of my neck, running through my hair. as he kissed me, I could feel his hands running down my back. And then he stopped. He asked if I was certain that I wanted to do this. And I just nodded.
After a while, Dad seemed a little better. Didn't seem as down as he had been at the start of everything. He was going out more, exercising again. The house would even smell of fresh flowers if he'd found any interesting ones on his walks. Though, of course, you shouldn't really go picking them. It was after one of his walks he sat me down for a talk. Now then, he started off. It was always going to be a serious conversation when it started with, now then. So, now then, he says, you're growing up and starting to become an independent woman. I could feel myself shaking. I thought, here it comes, the sex talk. The worst moment in a teen's life, and today it is my turn to be tortured with the graphic details of how to put a condom on a boy, or have explained to you how important it is to get to know each other before you do a special kind of hug. I don't want us to drift apart, he went on. So I want to make an arrangement with you. This sounded ominous. He said, I want you to pick one day of the week which we will always spend together. It will be our day. And in return, you can also pick another day of the week where I will go out and you can have the house to yourself for a few hours. Thought this had to be a trick, surely, but it wasn't. From then on, every Tuesday night we'd do something together, and every Thursday night he went out. He'd go to the pub or something, and I'd have a bath, play loud music, or just have a friend round. I'd recently started college. Sciences. Not the most interesting of topics for some people, I know, but well, I'd always loved learning about biology. Couldn't decide whether I wanted to be a doctor or a vet though. But I knew I wanted to do something with living things, helping living things. However, call me naive, but I didn't expect there to be so much reading. I know Thursday was meant to be my day to myself, but I needed to catch up on all my work. Told Dad I was going around my friends to revise. I'd recently started studying the human brain for a project, and I thought it was fascinating. Did you know that multitasking is impossible? What you're actually doing is context switching, which means you are not actually doing two things at once. You're just switching your focus really fast between the two. And the short-term memory only lasts about 20 to 30 seconds. Anyway, coming home, I was surprised to find that Dad had locked the front door. He never remembered to lock the door, and he was in. It wasn't as if we were going to get robbed or anything. When I walked in, I could smell flowers. They'd been put in the sink, which really wasn't like Dad. I heard voices coming from the living room, so I just headed through. Now, I admit, I don't always remember everything exactly as it was, but there are some things I will never forget. I'll never forget that grey sofa, for example. I'll never forget the first time I had to dissect a heart in class. And I will never forget walking in on my dad, laid on top of... I'm sorry, what's your name?
Right.
Thank you. Laid on top of Graham with his hands down his trousers. on that grey sofa. I can't remember which one of them saw me at the door or which one of them spoke first, but I do remember Graham leaving pretty quickly. I remember him putting on his shoes at the door, and I think I remember Dad kissing him goodbye. There was a long silence after he left, though this may have been minutes, it felt like hours, and I can't remember who broke it. But I do remember, amongst other things, Dad saying that Graham wasn't the first, and I think I laughed at him and said it was his midlife crisis. But he said he'd been with men before. Before Mum and that, she always knew, but they didn't see the point in telling me. I mean, why would they? No one needs to know that about their parents. I mean, has anyone here ever had that chat with their parents before? It's bad enough having the sexual history chat with a partner, let alone a parent. You just know what you see, don't you? And all I ever saw was Dad with my mum. I asked Dad if this is why he and Mum split up, but he said it had nothing to do with it. He said that actually there was a part of him that still loved Mum, and that if she hadn't wanted a divorce, he still would have been very happy. I asked him about Graham. He just smiled. He was alright, Graham. A little socially awkward, particularly if we all went out together, but over the next couple of years I got to know him. And he made Dad happy, which was all I wanted. He was a carer at a nursing home just outside of town. It was in an unconverted church. You know, he really encouraged me to focus on my studies. He said if it was up to him, I should go for being a vet over a doctor any day. Anything to keep you away from dealing with people, he'd say. Did you know that elephants can communicate in some really cool ways? You know, they're not too dissimilar to humans, really. They communicate through touch and body language and through vibrations in the ground. They can just sense danger or trouble. I came home from college one Tuesday, all ready for a night in with Dad, as always, just the two of us. But I could tell there was something wrong. The silence was back and the flowers were gone. Dad and Graham had an argument about something, and Dad seemed to think he wasn't coming back. He was right. Went off to uni that summer to study animal medicine. I only applied because of Dad and Graham, but now Graham's gone and I was worried about Dad being alone again. When he came to pick me up though, at the end of the year, something was different. He was different. He couldn't stop smiling the whole way home. He said he had some news to tell me, but wanted to wait till we got back to the house. When we walked in, he pointed me to the living room. And there was this beautiful new blue sofa suite. No more grey leather and green felt. It looked amazing. It was Evie's idea, he said. We donated the old one to a home. She was older than I expected. Only a couple years older than Dad though. She had really deep set crow's feet, particularly when Dad made her laugh. They made each other laugh a lot. After she left, Dad was still smiling as he asked me what I thought of her. I liked her, I told him, and I did. I really did. Maybe a little louder than I would normally like, but she was nice. Good, he said. Because we're getting married.
My dad used to always tell me, sometimes just throwing yourself into something can lead to your most memorable of experiences. Just go for it, basically. I've never thrown myself into anything. Always just gone along with what other people have thrown me into. Being exclusive, getting married, moving house, having this carpet, those curtains, these shoes, being a fucking sperm donor. What if I just did what I fucking wanted for once? He cried when we told her she was pregnant. He cried when we went for the first scan. And he cried when we found out it was going to be a boy, when he felt it kick the first time. And he cried when I told him what I wanted. He cried when I told him that I loved him, but I needed more. And he cried as he said, okay. As he said he was fine with that, as long as he didn't know. I mean, let's face it, the honeymoon period was over. We all know what that means. Too tired, too stressed, got a headache. Not tonight, Josephine. You know. Jack's 2 now. We see him once or twice a week. Julie actually made us godparents, so it's a little bit weird between us all now. Not sure whether that's because of what we did or because we stopped. I've started seeing people online. I still follow Chris's rules, of course. I never tell him who I meet or what we do or anything like that. And well, I think he just thinks I'm working late or something. Should I sort it out, I suppose? I usually meet them at the bridge outside of town, then go to a restaurant or get a bite to eat before coming here to the hotel. And as I stand on that bridge, watching the traffic pass beneath me, I just think, what if I jumped? What if I just climbed over those railings and just fucking jumped? What would I regret? Would it be the actions themselves or all the lies? Then again, I think, what if I don't? Other times I just come straight here to the hotel room and see if there's anyone interested in meeting up. I mean, let's face it, there's always someone out there lonelier than yourself. I still love him, Chris. And who knows? Maybe whether I was gay or straight, I'd still be doing this. I don't lie to the people I meet. I don't hide what I'm doing. I don't take off my wedding ring or avoid talking about Chris or anything like that. Most of them don't care. You get some that judge, some that just don't get it. But The way I see it, doesn't matter who you are or what you like. Some people can't be with just one person. What if? Then again, maybe not tonight.
He began to undress me, kissing down my body as he did, and then he pushed me on the bed. I watched as he loomed over me, his manly body just... It wasn't quite as muscular as I thought it was going to be, but it was nice. He was homelier, more realistic. But no one really wants a Chris Hemsworth, do they? It just makes you feel shit about yourself the whole time. And let's face it, I'd already had that experience. Anyway, he stood over me, touching himself. And he called me beautiful. He knelt down on the floor at the base of the bed and began going down on me. I'd never actually felt another guy's mouth around me before. I tried desperately not to get too excited, thinking of the things you think of when you're trying to take things slow. Oh, old geography teachers. Oh, the Queen's speech. Shirley Ballas's sweaty cleavage, anything to keep control. I lifted him up to my face to kiss him, and I felt him against me as we kissed. Then I felt him touching himself, so I started jerking off too. I just jumped on top of him, straddling him over his thighs, watching him, watching me. We both came at the same time. Fuck me, sex with a guy is messy. We showered together afterwards. I'd never even thought about the cleanup, post-coitus as it were, but, you know, it made sense. We just had the most amazing sex, and then just washed together. It really finished off the intimacy perfectly. Plus, the hotel had Bayless and Harding shower stuff, so it smelled amazing afterwards too. He stayed the whole night. We laid naked together. I never actually told him this, but I woke up about an hour before he did, and I just watched him sleep. It was amazing. And in the morning, when he eventually woke up, he fucked me so hard. I mean, seriously. As soon as his eyes opened and he smiled at me, I just wanted it. I think he might have been a little bit scared at first, to be honest with you. I just jumped on top of him and started kissing him and touching him. But then he reached for the Durex that we put on the bedside table the night before, just in case. And he ripped it open with his teeth, and all of a sudden, it was on him. It was proper like a porno, where, you know, you never actually see them put it on, but then, all of a sudden, it's there. And fuck me, I thought it felt big in my mouth. Who knows what would have happened if I let the first guy fuck me with his. We started with me sat on top of him, his hands all over my body. And then he pushed me onto the bed, on my side, like spooning. He wrapped his whole body around me, really engulfing me. When he came, he was on top. My legs spread as wide as they could so he could lean down and kiss me. And when he came, he was looking at me. I mean, really looking at me. Dead in the eyes. It may have started with him just fucking me. And I know this is going to sound all wet and mushy, whatever. But by the end, he wasn't just fucking me. We were making love. Did I look alright? smell alright? Did he fancy me? Did I have something stuck in my teeth? Maybe. But did I fucking care? Sure. I paid for Remy to take me out to dinner. I paid for him to come back to the hotel room with me. I paid for him to wash with me. And I paid for him to fuck me till I came. But, you know, I didn't pay for him to make love to me. And I'm not at all ashamed about paying for any of the other stuff too, because it was worth it. So, the next time that you can't be asked, and you choose Deliveroo over cooking for yourself, just stop for a second and think of me having the best fuck of my life.
Dad and Evie had been married for about 6 months. When Dad had his car accident, he was in a coma for about a week. While he was out, they did some scans. Seems that when he had the accident, he also had a stroke. The reason they say an elephant never forgets is because of its temporal lobe, the area of the brain that is associated with the memory. It's larger and denser than humans, so it can hold information better. When you have a stroke, the blood flow to the brain is affected. Sometimes it's reduced, sometimes it just stops for a bit. This means that your brain isn't getting the oxygen it needs. It only takes a few minutes for the brain without oxygen to start to die. It was Dad's temporal lobe that was most starved of oxygen. She phoned me up one day, Evie. She said the doctor had just been dementia. Apparently a stroke can bring it on and bring it on fast. When I told Mum, she burst into tears. Carl tried to comfort her, which, to be fair, he did innocently, but you could see he was confused as to why she was this upset about her ex-husband. I mean, that's loyalty for you. No one ever tells you what it's really like. People think it's just a case of forgetting a few things. Mobile phone in the fridge, car keys in the kettle, that sort of thing. No one ever tells you just how hard it is forgetting your wife's face, not knowing when you need to eat. I watched Dad become someone else, someone I didn't know. I watched as his eyes clouded over, as he no longer responded to my voice, as he flinched away in fear as to who I might be. You know, I spent all of my life wanting him to be happy, wanting him not to be alone, but this time there was nothing I could do about it. And I couldn't even talk to Dad about it. I had no one I could talk to about me. You know, about how I was feeling. You know, no one ever asked how I was feeling. No one ever gave a shit about me. I'm sorry. So sorry. It's not about me, is it? No. Evie couldn't look after him by herself anymore. She'd done her best. She really had, but she was a wife, not a carer. And you could see her heart break a little each time he called her by Mum's name by mistake. As I stood at the old arched wooden doors of that ex-churchland care home, I could feel something inside me. Something familiar. I went in to visit Dad and then I saw them. Dad, Evie and Graham all sat together on that grey sofa with flowers all around him. And he was happy again. When he passed away, Mum, Evie, Graham and I all sat together. The loyal, sociable elephants we had become. I cried. I remember I cried a lot. As we walked through the garden of remembrance, there was a girl sorting out the flowers. She must have seen the tears on my face because the next thing I know, her hand is on mine. She smiled this comforting smile, her blue eyes looking straight through me. Are you going to be alright? She asked. This is where my story begins.